She thought he'd just leave, or yell, or at least throw a plate against the wall, but all he said was that he didn't need to know the other man's name, because the other man would remember his. No drama, no threats, no scene. He walked away, and the silence began, a silence that didn't heal, but cut. She believed she'd found freedom, but in truth, she had lit the fuse. While she searched for herself in other people's beds, he was collecting files, saving screenshots, recording calls, not for revenge, but to erase her existence as quietly as she had erased his. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watch this video. I value every one of your comments, so let's get started. The rain never came. It should have, really. Nights like these usually summon thunder, a dramatic downpour to mirror the storm brewing inside. But the sky above Willow Bend held its breath, silent. Strangely so. Inside a postcard-perfect home with deep green shutters and a warm amber glow spilling from the windows, Cora Hensley stood barefoot on the cool kitchen tiles. A wine glass dangled from her fingers, her gaze locked on the relentless sweep of the second hand on the wall clock. 18 minutes. That's how long until Landon would step through the door. He still didn't know. Didn't know about the decision she'd already made. Didn't know what had already begun. Didn't know there was someone else. Tonight wasn't about comfort. Cora hadn't slipped into cozy flannel or twisted her hair into its usual messy knot. Instead, she wore a navy silk dress, sleek, tailored, chosen with intention, not to seduce, to send a message. Her lipstick was bold, her scent precise, the house immaculate. Dinner was plated, candles danced. Soft jazz curled through the room from the Bluetooth speaker, but it did nothing to calm the tremor in her chest. Landon, her husband of 7 complicated years, had no inkling of the truth waiting behind their front door. But Cora had practiced. Every line, every pause, every reaction she might face. Her grip tightened on the stem of her glass. Lena had been right. Her best friend's words replayed like a mantra from all those late-night talks. Cora, if he won't fight for you, go find someone who will. You're not a ghost. This is your life too. That had torn something loose inside her. It wasn't fury, not even bitterness. It was emptiness. Landon didn't really see her anymore. Didn't feel her absence or her presence. He'd come home, toss his keys, offer a mumbled hello, and disappear, drowning himself in work or podcasts or whatever held his attention until he passed out. So she lit the fuse. It started with innocent messages, then the smiles. Grayson, someone she'd met at a charity event. He saw her, made her feel real again. There hadn't been a plan, not at first. But with him, remembering what it felt like to be wanted was effortless. Tonight, Landon would finally see what she meant. The door creaked open. Landon stepped in, the chill of the night still clinging to his dark coat. He dropped his keys into the ceramic bowl, not even glancing up. Then he spotted the dining table and paused. "Is there something I forgot?" he asked, a flicker of confusion in his tone. Cora moved toward him and offered a glass of wine. "No," she said simply. "You didn't forget a thing. You just never noticed." His brow furrowed. "What's going on?" She gestured to the table. "Sit. Let's eat. We'll talk afterward." Dinner passed in a thick, uneasy silence. The scrape of forks against plates was jarring. Cora couldn't taste a bite. She just watched him, watched the ease in his movements, unaware of the fracture that was coming. Finally, she set her fork down. "I need something else," she said. Her voice was flat, almost clinical. Landon stilled, his fork midair. "Something else?" "More from life. From myself. From what we are," she said. "I need to feel alive again. I've already made my choice." He leaned back, scanning her expression. "What choice?" Cora filled her lungs like she was surfacing from deep underwater. "I need space. I need to find out who I am again." Her voice didn't shake. "I want to see other people." The silence that followed was unbearable. Landon blinked, once, then again. Before he could speak, she continued. "No yelling, please." He placed his napkin carefully on the table. Do you want me to yell? Her throat tightened. I just thought you'd react, she said. A crack in her calm at last. Landon looked up, unreadable. I used to think silence meant we were okay, he said, that if I stayed steady we'd be fine. Turns out, all it did was give you room to disappear. I didn't disappear, she shot back. The wine was making her bold now. I reached for something. He stood, calm, controlled, his voice low and hard. You're not reaching. You're replacing. Cora swallowed. That's not... You said exactly what you meant, he interrupted. I get it. Loud and clear. He turned and started down the hallway. Where are you going? To the guest room, for now. That's all? She called, her voice rising. You're not even going to fight for us? You don't even want to know who he is? Landon stopped. He didn't turn around. He didn't move. I don't need to know his name, he said quietly, still facing away. But I promise you, he'll remember mine. And then he walked out. There was no grand exit. The door didn't slam. No raised voices echoed behind him. No tears followed either. Just a stillness that seemed to thicken the air, so heavy it felt like it might crush Cora from the inside out. When morning came, she woke alone. His side of the bed looked undisturbed, crisp, cold, and empty. Landon hadn't come back, not in the dead of night, not to ask questions, not even to confront her. He simply vanished. Wrapping her robe tighter around her, Cora walked past the guest room. The door remained firmly shut. No sounds, no signs of life. She hesitated briefly, fingertips brushing the doorknob, but she didn't open it. She moved on. Her phone buzzed. Grayson. Guessing last night was rough. If you need to vent or just breathe, I'm around. Cora didn't respond. She stared at the screen. Everything about Grayson, the situation, the consequences, felt raw. And yet, a strange sense of victory twisted inside her. She was the one who'd broken the silence. In the kitchen, she poured coffee into the mug Landon had given her on their second anniversary. To my favorite puzzle, it said. Once, those words warmed her. Now, they felt like quiet condemnation. The toaster popped. Silence crept back into the room like fog. It wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. She loathed how confined she still felt. Grayson was different. Conversations with him flowed easily. He picked up on the small details, noticed when she switched her perfume. He made playlists just for her. Landon had once done all of that too, before silence and spreadsheets became their only language. So when Grayson asked her over that Friday for music and wine, she said yes. At first, it felt innocent, but the line between harmless and something more blurred quickly. Days passed like that. Cora stayed out later than usual, cheeks flushed, lips curled in a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She stopped wearing her wedding band, told herself it was growth, a reclamation of self. She convinced herself she was becoming someone new, someone free. But Landon changed too. Not the way she expected. He wasn't passive anymore. He was precise, mechanical. He started rising before dawn and returning long after dark. His words were few, his movements sharp, always meticulous, always focused. But now his orderliness felt detached, sterile. He started locking his laptop. His phone disappeared into his pocket the moment she entered a room. Once, she caught him in the garage, hunched over blueprints and small USB drives. She asked what he was working on. He looked up and said simply, "Just organizing some things." But the way he said it, like he was indexing facts, not recalling memories, sent a shiver through her. Cora joked about it to Lena. "Probably just another weird work obsession," she said. Lena didn't laugh. "When a quiet man stops reacting," Lena said slowly, "it usually means he's started calculating." "Calculating what?" Cora asked, uneasy. "I'm not sure," Lena replied. "But if he was going to break down, he would have by now. The fact that he hasn't? That's what scares me." Cora waved it off. She ignored the note someone had left tucked under her windshield wiper. All secrets surface eventually. She disregarded the murmurs at the office, the looks, especially from Veronica, who always acted like she knew just a little too much. Then the first blow landed. Monday morning, Cora walked into her office and found a plain, unmarked envelope sitting on her desk. Inside, an image, clear, damning. A photo of her and Grayson in his kitchen, mid-laugh, toasting glasses of wine. The timestamp matched the night she had told Landon she was attending a legal networking event. Her chest tightened. That night, she powered on her personal laptop. On the desktop, tucked away, was a folder titled Archive Chrissy. Inside, an unnerving digital cache. GPS logs, message timestamps, grainy surveillance shots from parking garages, audio recordings, and a spreadsheet titled affairchronology.xlsx. Each entry detailed, every cell accounted for. This wasn't a vendetta anymore. It was documentation, evidence, a complete case file. Cora slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding like a drum. She sprinted to the guest room, still empty, no Landon. The driveway held no sign of his truck, yet his clothes were still neatly arranged in the closet, his tools lined up like soldiers in the garage. He was everywhere and nowhere, present enough to unsettle her, distant enough to deny closure. That night, Cora didn't pour herself a drink. She didn't crawl into bed. She sat on the cold tile floor of the kitchen, arms wrapped tightly around her legs, eyes locked on the front door. Waiting. 2 days crept by. No calls, no texts. No sign of Landon. Then, her phone rang. "Mrs. Hensley? This is Officer Blake with the Eastwood PD. I'm calling regarding your vehicle." "My vehicle?" Cora's voice pitched upward, disbelief threading through it. "That can't be. It's in the garage." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's not accurate. The car currently in your garage is registered to your husband. Your personal vehicle was found earlier today, submerged in Briar Creek." Cora's chest tightened as her heart stuttered. "Wait. Is Landon okay?" "He's safe," Blake replied evenly. "We spoke to him briefly. He asked us to inform you that your joint accounts are now under legal scrutiny. He's also filed for a restraining order." Cora's breath caught mid-inhale. "What? On what grounds?" "I can't disclose those details," the officer said. "You'll be contacted by the courts soon." Then the call ended. Cora's fingers trembled so violently that her phone slipped from her grip and hit the floor with a sharp thud. She stood frozen in the heart of a house that had once embraced her. Now it felt foreign, tight, suffocating, as though the walls themselves had turned into witnesses. Her breaths came shallow and ragged. Landon hadn't exploded. He hadn't accused or lashed out. No, he had watched, waited, measured his moment. And then, with chilling calm, he'd acted. No confrontation, just erasure. Tears didn't come, not yet, not after the call ended, not when she found their bank accounts locked, not even when she read the email confirming the court order, outlining the accusations, manipulation, ethical violations, financial misconduct. She convinced herself it was a scare tactic, a dramatic push to force her into submission until he cooled off. But Landon didn't bluff. Landon engineered, and now he was assembling a case. 3 days later, Cora entered her office with a practiced smile that strained every muscle. Her shoulders were square, her head held high, as if saying the same story enough times would make it real. She wasn't the villain. She was just a woman chasing meaning, craving space. That's how she framed it. Until human resources called her in. The meeting room was sterile, the air stiff with anticipation. Inside were Ms. Dalton from HR, a lawyer from legal, a man from security, and a fourth woman Cora didn't know. Someone offered her coffee. She declined. Dalton broke the silence. "There's been a report, submitted anonymously." Cora's stomach turned to stone. "A report?" The lawyer slid a heavy binder across the table. "It relates to your conduct over the past half year." She opened it and stopped breathing. Photographs, chat logs, detailed transcripts, every misstep laid out meticulously. Rendezvous with Grayson, professional events that ended in hotels, flirty texts to Lena, some barely remembered, presented like exhibits in a courtroom. Diagrams, charts. A full timeline, color-coded for emphasis. "This wasn't leaked," the legal rep said quietly. "This was assembled, deliberately." Cora couldn't speak. Her throat closed. "You're being placed on immediate administrative leave," Dalton said gently but firmly. "An internal review is now underway. You'll receive formal notice later today." Cora stood slowly, dazed. The binder remained open. She hadn't even gotten to the audio files. She walked out, forgetting her purse. Rain had begun to fall by the time she stepped outside. A light drizzle at first, then heavier. It seemed fitting. For once the weather matched her. When she got home, her key no longer worked. She tried both the front and side doors. The locks were changed. Her belongings were already waiting on the porch. Each box neatly packed, clearly labeled in sharp black marker. Bedroom. Office. Bathroom. On top sat a note, typed and centered with precision. You struck the match. I just let the fire spread. Enjoy the freedom you wanted. She stood there, unmoving, as minutes passed and curtains fluttered in nearby windows. Watching eyes. Eventually, she loaded the boxes into her car and drove, nowhere in particular, until Lena sent a text. Come over. Bring wine. But even Lena's face held unease when Cora arrived. I thought he'd lose it, Cora murmured, curled on the couch. I braced for shouting, threats. Not this. Not a cold dismantling. Lena hesitated before speaking. Cora turned to her. What is it? Lena exhaled. He didn't stop with you. Cora bolted upright. What are you saying? He contacted my landlord. HR sent them footage. A pause. Footage of me, with Landon. Derek was the beginning. I didn't even notice the cameras had started rolling. You told me this would be freeing. I said it might be thrilling. Somehow, you twisted that into innocent. Cora swallowed hard. You always said they come back, she murmured. Landon isn't like the rest, Lena said. He's methodical, down to the detail deliberate. And you shattered him, Cora. He hadn't come crawling. He was architecting her collapse. The following morning, Cora opened an email. Subject: termination of employment. Grounds: ethical breach. Her body flushed with heat. Her career? Gone. Scorched. She tried crafting a neutral update for her social media, something vague about change and growth, but nobody was fooled. Security footage from the hotel had leaked. Blurry, dark, but explicit enough. Not graphic, but condemning. A man, a woman. Cora's voice, unmistakable. And Grayson's laugh, too familiar. Their outlines, too recognizable. The caption burned worse than the clip. Some vows decay quietly, others take everything with them. By noon, her inbox overflowed. Messages, notifications, missed calls, all pointing at the same shame. She opened TikTok. She was trending, for all the wrong reasons. As for Landon, silence. No statements, no cryptic messages, no online rage, because Landon wasn't retaliating. He was erasing her life, calmly, completely. Grayson disappeared. His number stopped working. Lena would eventually admit that Grayson's wife filed for immediate separation the same day the footage appeared. Cora hadn't just destroyed a relationship. She'd torched the entire structure. Landon? Untouched. Now, Cora was sitting in a stiff chair at her lawyer's office, her fingers tapping anxiously on her thighs. Even the coffee felt sanitized. It had been 41 days since Landon had left, and he hadn't reached out once. No calls, no accusations, no breakdowns, just one meticulous strike after another. This mediation was the last move, her final opportunity to salvage what remained of the ruin they once called a marriage. That's when Teresa walked in, Landon's attorney, immaculate, cold, flawlessly poised. She seemed like someone who blinked only when necessary. Her voice never rose. It didn't have to. She simply slid a folder across the table, gave a precise smile, and said, "We have everything." Cora opened it. Inside was a war chest. Transaction histories, hotel receipts, door entry timestamps, surveillance captures, chat transcripts, even her own messages to Lena, highlighted and time-stamped. Robert, her lawyer, gentle, clearly outmatched, scrambled to respond. Teresa stayed composed. She didn't argue. "Your client," she said calmly, "has forfeited any entitlement to support, joint property, or marital equity. The evidence confirms intentional misconduct." Cora's jaw tightened. "We were still married," she shot back. Teresa looked at her without blinking. "He gave you autonomy, Mrs. Hensley. And you weaponized it." A week later, they were in court. Landon sat beside Teresa, not looking vengeful, just focused, like he was putting the finishing touches on something already complete. His face held no anger, only precision. And when the judge invited him to speak, he stood, adjusted his suit, and answered immediately. "My wife didn't betray me," he began. "She made a choice. I didn't intervene. I gave her the space she asked for, the time, the independence. What I got in return was clarity. This wasn't abandonment, it was liberation. I didn't lose a partner. I released someone who had already left." His voice never cracked. It didn't need to. It sliced through the courtroom like ice. Cora stared at him, searching for anything, regret, pain, even contempt. But there was nothing there, just composure, as if, in his mind, she'd already been buried. The judge made a swift ruling. Every joint asset, gone, the home, the vehicles, the savings. Her name scrubbed from it all. This wasn't just a divorce, it was deletion. That night, Cora checked into a rundown motel along Route 22. The sheets smelled like bleach and loss. And as she lay alone in that harsh white room, the truth landed hard. It wasn't just her marriage that was over. It was the narrative she thought she'd been living in. Cora's phone lit up with a message from Lena. "You okay?" She stared at it, empty. Was she? Not even a little. She could hardly recognize the person she'd become. The woman who used to spritz on perfume just to feel something real had faded into someone she no longer knew, a faint outline passing through her own life. In her effort to rebuild, she had broken the one person who ever truly understood her. Her fingers hovered, then typed back, "You once said they always come back." Mine didn't. He burned the bridge and disappeared. No reply came. Lena had her own mess now. Word was, her marriage was falling apart. Her husband had filed for custody. Grayson was long gone. The disaster wasn't just Cora's anymore. It had spread, like a slow poison. Every man they'd ever touched seemed to vanish in the aftermath. But Landon? He never played that game. No revenge posts, no passive-aggressive texts, not even a filtered photo to prove he'd moved on. He didn't need to. His absence screamed louder than any tantrum ever could. The next morning, Cora stood outside what used to be their home. She didn't go in. Everything was different now. Fresh paint, a neat lawn, new curtains in the windows. Someone else's story was unfolding there. Laughter from children drifted out from the backyard. The mailbox read a new name. The Harpers. She didn't knock, didn't cry. She just stood there, letting the truth wash over her. She didn't haunt that space anymore. She didn't belong. A few days later, needing to escape the stale motel air, she wandered into a bookstore and found herself sitting through a talk called Rebuilding After Collapse. The speaker didn't coddle the audience. "You can't fix what you won't face," he said. "Pain isn't punishment. It's the cost of clarity." Cora sat through it all, unmoving, shattered but silent. Her hands shook when she stood to leave. That night, she did something she never thought she would. She wrote Landon a letter. Not to rekindle anything, not to explain, just to tell the truth. "Landon, you didn't scream, you didn't accuse, you didn't fight back. You just vanished, slowly, piece by piece, until only I remained. And I deserved that. I confused chaos with passion. I chased noise and blamed your quiet for my emptiness. But the truth is, you were there, the whole time. I was the one who left. Thank you, for not dragging me through the dirt, for letting me fall without making it worse. For showing me how the deepest wounds are often silent. I'm not asking for forgiveness, not expecting a reply. I just needed to let go. Cora." She dropped it in the mail. No return address, no expectations, just a release. Weeks passed. The silence held. Landon didn't write, didn't call, not a whisper of his name from friends. The letter vanished into the quiet. Meanwhile, Cora began volunteering at a women's shelter. At first, it was court-mandated. Eventually, it became something more. She folded linens, took inventory, listened to stories heavier than hers. And then, one overcast afternoon, as she stepped out to grab a coffee, she froze. A pickup truck pulled into the lot, familiar dense, faded silver-blue paint. Landon stepped out, dust on his boots, calm in his movements. "Hey," he said. Her breath caught. "You work here?" she asked. He nodded. "They're expanding. I'm on the crew." They stood there, awkward, uncertain. I didn't think I'd see you again, she said. I didn't plan to be here, he replied. But I read your letter. She swallowed hard. I wasn't trying to change anything. I know, he said. That's why I read it twice. Cora looked down. I wrecked everything. He exhaled slowly. Yeah, you struck the match, but I didn't stop the fire. Her voice cracked. I didn't expect you to go so quiet. His tone softened. It wasn't coldness. It was final. She nodded. Are you happy now? She asked quietly. He paused, then motioned toward the half-built extension behind him. This is enough. A faint smile tugged at her lips. Yeah, it is. No embrace, no tears, just quiet understanding between two people who had survived each other. Then he turned to go, and this time, Cora stayed put. She didn't chase, and for the first time, it didn't feel like losing. It felt like an ending. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.